As I walked around during this break, I couldn't help but overhear a couple conversations. In each of these conversations, there was a question that was asked. People kept asking, "What do you do?" And it ties in so well with this talk, I had to bring it up. You'll find out why later. So let's move on. Put that away somewhere and follow me into one of my memories. It was about a year after I graduated from university, and I was working at a big tech company. Things were going well. I had been doing pretty good in work, and part of that, I was rewarded with the ability to go to lunch with one of our CTOs. I don't know, 1, 2, 5, I don't know how many levels were between us, but there was a lot. It was one of the people you kind of get out of the way as they walk by as a new employee. So I was nervous, but I was really excited. So I prepared. I thought about all the things I had done at work over that last year. I thought about the SQL query I wrote. I thought about, the client that I had sold, and I got prepared for this lunch. I walked in and tried to find Norm. I looked. I didn't see anybody sitting by themselves, so I looked again. There he was, in the back corner with someone else. So I, pulled my pants up. I said, "Okay, I'm just gonna go do it." So I walked up, I introduced myself, said, "Hi, I'm Andrew. You must be Norm." Norm stood up, shook my hand, and said, "Hi, Andrew. So happy you could join us for this interview." Yeah, happy to join this interview. Yeah, great, and who's this? Oh, Steve, you're also interviewing. Cool. Yeah, trying not to show it on my face. And so we sat down at this table, and I'm thinking, great, I'm prepared. I got all these stories about work, I'm ready. And sure enough, the first conversation that came up was travel. They had both just gone on vacation in Asia. And I was in my first year of work. I don't think I'd taken a single vacation day yet. So I really couldn't relate with their vacation, nor the Emirates airline they took to get there, because I was still traveling on Southwest, which is commonly known as the bus of the skies. So when the conversation turned, I was really happy. And they started talking about 10Ks. I wasn't running 10Ks. I was only reading them before bed. And throughout this conversation, I sank back a little bit more each time. And by the end of the conversation, I knew I didn't get this job that I didn't know I was going for. But I did think Steve did, because he was able to connect with this travel, with this running, and that was what really helped him to be able to achieve this. And I was right. Norm and I still aren't LinkedIn friends, and Steve and him soon went on to work for a project that had visibility all the way up to the CXO level of this company. I was bummed. So I took time to reflect on why I got myself into this situation. We were at this table eating lunch, and the only reason we were there together was because we worked together. But the conversation didn't center around work. It centered around all of the other things that we did with our life. If you think of the core as our work, it was all the things on the peripheral, the things around that make us us. Travel, running, etc. And this is when I started to think about the idea of a peripheral. A peripheral, as you might know it, is something on the outside. I was working for a large tech company. I have a background as an engineer, so when I thought of peripheral, I thought of this. Something you plug into a computer to make it do useful things. I started thinking of myself as a computer, and I realized that I was working so hard on work that I wasn't working on my peripherals. And so I started to look around to see what others were doing, the people I looked up to, those who were successful. I really liked the story of Aji Nakatsu, a Japanese engineer working on the bullet train. Well, this is the bullet train we know now. The original looked a little different. and it had a problem. When the bullet train would enter into a tunnel, the air in front of it would compress. And it would compress and compress and compress. And as that came out of the tunnel, that compressed air would explode into an incredibly loud noise that could be heard almost a kilometer away. It was disrupting the local wildlife, the local babies, and pretty much everybody else. So Aji said, I'm going to fix this. So like every good engineer, he rolled up his sleeves, he got right to work. After looking at this problem for a while, he didn't really have a way to solve it. But he had a secret weapon. Because when he liked to relax, he would go bird watching. It was one of his peripherals. And so I can picture the day this happened. And I don't know if this is exactly how it happened, but I like it this way. He and his son go out to their cabin on the weekend. They're holding hands. They go to the dock. The son drops a fishing pole in the water. Maybe Aji sits on the side, dangles his feet in the water, and starts to watch the birds. And then he sees one of his favorite birds, the kingfisher. It comes in, dives into the water, and he sees this. But there's something missing from this photo. I don't know if you guys can figure it out. But there's no splash. It's already entered the water, but it's not displaced it. I can't do this. But the kingfisher can. And so Aji had an aha moment. I like to think he scrambled. Maybe he fell in the water. I don't know. But he figured it out. So Monday morning came. He woke up, no alarm, directly into work. He made models of the different types of noses that he could use for the bullet train based on the kingfisher's beak. And it worked. The serrations and elongations solved the problem. He was able to make a train that not only went faster, used electricity, but also didn't make a giant noise when it came out of the tunnel. When I heard about this story, I knew it. I needed to go back to my peripherals because I'd been focusing so much on work that I let everything fall to the hayside. So, for example, I got back on the bike, so to say, and I went for a little ride. Growing up, I was a huge snowboarder, so I got back to that, spent some time snowboarding. I even did run a 10K. I actually ran 3 of them between Napa Valley and San Francisco. But it wasn't all adventure. I started just looking at normal day things that I would do with a different eye. This is a photo of me going around New York City trying to figure out where the best pizza was. Still unconvinced of any specific one being best, but I learned a lot. I even was able to get the high score at my last work Christmas party. Why is this important, do you say? I was pretty good at Dig Dug. It's one of my peripherals. Here I am on the stage talking to you about video games. You never know when a peripheral will come in handy. It was around this time I started to think, maybe I'd like to do something different. I was working at a large tech company, and I wanted to try to work at a startup. So I started to apply, look around, see if anybody else was interested. And I didn't have a whole lot of luck. Either the relationship didn't work out, the startup wasn't what I wanted, things just happened. As I mentioned, I'm a pretty big snowboarder. So I was training to snowboard in the Andes Mountains because I really wanted to do that. But one of the upsides or downsides, depending on how you look at it, is that snowboarding, you kind of have to be in pretty good shape to catch those first turns. So I was on this small island in Brazil called Florianopolis, and I was spending a lot of time in the gym. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't have the Portuguese peripheral, so I wasn't able to talk to a lot of people there, only the ones who also spoke English. As we became closer and closer friends, and I learned more about him, he told me that he had some problems with his business. He had a really large emailing list, but he had no way to monetize it. And so he asked, Andrew, what would you do with these 20,000 people I have signed up to this email list about this workout style? And I thought, and I came up with an idea. And after searching so long to join a startup, I realized this is it. This is my spot. I can make this startup. And so working together, we did. We imported goods from China, put them into a box, shipped those boxes across Brazil. Boom, within 3 months, we had Brazil's first workout in a box solution. But it wasn't until I let go and followed some of my peripherals that I was able to find the thing that was going to take me to the next level. This was also the same with Aji. Who would have thought bird watching inspires a bullet train? I wouldn't have. But he was able to take what he was doing at work, marry it with a peripheral, and create a giant innovation. My innovation wasn't as big, but I think it had big implications for me. I've been able now to get involved with entrepreneurship communities. I've even been able to talk to and land a job at one of Europe's fastest growing startups. All because now I speak the same language. I have a story, the relationship that I can build with others. And so I think this is really important. As I look around and I look at those who are really successful, I see typically they might not be the smartest person in the room, but they're usually the one with the most peripherals. So you usually have many ways to connect, innovate, and tie in different things together. I don't believe it's enough to actually just have these peripherals. You have to do something with it. Such a strong question. What do you do? So many people answer this. I'm an analyst at this bank. I'm a consultant that flies around. And those are great things if that's what truly defines you. But I don't think it is. I think that people are truly defined by these peripherals, these things around the outside, and that's how you make a lasting connection. So if there's one action that you change, I want it to be this question. When someone asks you, what do you do? Think about answering with the peripheral, something that sparks a deeper relationship and exposes a little bit about who you are. I'm Andrew. Thanks a lot.